Hello everybody, this is the Empirical Audiophile. And what I'm going to talk about today is words that audiophiles listen to when reviewers talk about products. And I have several words here I put down to describe products that they're reviewing. And I just want to go over like the definition of these words. And the two products I'm going to kind of refer to is the DACs, which I did a review on, of the Conrad Johnson Premier 9, and also the McIntosh MDA 200 DAC. Now, both of these are excellent DACs, but the Premier 9 here was built probably 1995, I'm going to say, the Premier 9. And of course, we have the brand new McIntosh MDA 200 DAC. And sorry about the picture quality here. It got a little grainy with the camera, but the DAC itself is a very nice DAC. And believe it or not, both DACs cost the same price. So 29 years ago, the Conrad Johnson Premier 9 cost about $4,000, and today the MDA 200 costs about $4,000. So what do you get for your money? Are you getting your money's worth? And when I do a review, I just like to just tell you the way it really is. I'm not here trying to have people send me equipment, but I think when people are looking and spending a lot of money, they want an honest review. They want someone to tell them, hey, is it worth me buying this piece of equipment? And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because a lot of equipment, Wellington, for one example, this Chinese equipment coming over, they've been doing bench tests on them and stuff like this, and they're not coming up to be as good as people are reviewing. These reviewers are reviewing some of these products and saying they're absolutely fantastic, and they're really not. And people are buying these equipment and they're reselling them, dumping them back on the market because they said they don't sound as great as the reviewers are reviewing. So I did want to bring that up, that no, they don't sound as good as reviewers are reviewing. And I want to make sure that you understand that. Okay, first word is accuracy. The output of the speaker somewhat resembles that input source. You know, the signal going in is the same as the signal going out. I would say both DACs are equal in that amount. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. So I was quite surprised of that myself, being that the age of the Conrad Johnson, and the Conrad Johnson has tubes. But I would say as far as accuracy goes, no, one's not better than the other. With that word, you could also put another word in there called analytical. Now, hyper detail, maybe too much information, overly detailed by some people's definition. Analytical. Some people don't like analytical, but some people do. They want to get all the detail, and they judge your system, how well it's working. And if we use that word analytical for both DACs, they both will perform great. And I'm going to give you a little example. So after this review, if you want to test out something, I'm going to give you a CD, or if you stream, something that you can stream and sink your teeth in. The Doors, LA Women. And this is a good sounding CD. I was really surprised for its age, how well it sounded. But there's one thing about this Doors, LA Women, is if you go to track number 10, which is called Riders on the Storm, it's 7 minutes and 50 seconds long. But right at the 5 minute 42 seconds, right about there, in the recording, it'll be on your right-hand side. if you're listening facing your speakers. In the very, very background, now I don't know if this is an accident or something, but somebody says Riders on the Storm. It doesn't sound like it's really being sung. And then Jim Morrison will come up right after that and sing Riders on the Storm as he's ending the song. He'll say that about 4 times. But this very, very light, it's almost non-hearable. You almost can't even hear it, but it is present and it is there where someone is saying Riders on the Storm. Now, I can't tell you if this is bleed through from the tape after so many years. I can't tell you if Jim Morrison was away from the mic and said Riders on the Storm. Then he comes up to the mic and sings it, Riders on the Storm. But this is something that I would say accuracy and analytical would play. However, you may not hear it. If your system can't reproduce it, I wouldn't worry too much about it if you don't hear it. But both DACs will play it. It's very, like I said, it's almost to the point where you won't hear it. You really have to sit down and listen. Listen to your system and you'll hear it. If your system can reproduce that way, way in the back, someone's saying that. It catches your ears when you hear it. And it's like, oh, did I hear that right? Is there something in there that shouldn't be in there, and you're saying that to yourself. So it's there. Listen to it and see if your, system is analytical. Of course, the LTECs are very analytical speakers. That's why some people don't like horns because, if it's there, they're going to tell you about it. Okay, next word is boxy. There's no boxy sound to the speakers. Now, the LTECs don't have a boxy sound. They just don't have it. No, I got to say that after 47 years of owning these speakers, no, there's no boxy sound, especially since I've redone them. I've done videos on that. There's boxiness is gone. Believe it or not, I really haven't heard much of systems with a boxy sound really to the speakers. Most of them disappear. Most of them are pretty good. Maybe very old speakers may have a boxy sound, but no, newer speakers won't. Imaging means essentially that the sound is coming from behind the plane of the stereo speaker. Imaging almost is with sound staging. And like I said, if I had a choice between the two of imaging and sound staging, I would say that the Conrad Johnson has a deeper sound stage, wider sound stage than the McIntosh MDA 200. That's what I'm hearing. The McIntosh is going to be more upfront. And when you listen to the McIntosh over the LTECs and with this system, you would say it has a horn sound, okay? More of a horn sound, I should say, versus the Conrad Johnson has less of a horn sound, a deeper sound stage going into the wall and wider than what the imaging is of the Mac. It doesn't mean the Mac is a slop. No. You have to understand me. These are minute. You can hear the sound staging, but it could even be a preference. Some people may say, well, I prefer the Mac over the Conrad Johnson. Some people may say, I prefer the Conrad Johnson because it has tubes in it and imaging and depth of the sound stage is better. And I like that a little more than being up forward. I think that whatever you like, depending on you. It's just something to know if you wish to buy the Mac that you may get a great soundstage, but it may be a little more forward than what you want. It won't be as deep. What can I contribute that to? It could be the Conrad Johnson because of the parts that are in it, the high-end capacitors and stuff. that just could be, so superior for that time, how it was built. Maybe that's why the soundstage is so good. Detail, fine levels of clarity, distraction of notes of the singer's breath. Both of them have great detail. I don't say one beats the other, but you may, because of the sounds a little more forward with the McIntosh, you may say the detailing is a little bit better, only because it's more forward. But no, I would say the details there, as I explained to you with the Doors LA Woman CD. Let's see, distortion, any change in the original signal versus the output signal, any change in distortion, graininess, or harshness. No, I would say none of them are harsh. In fact, they're very musical. I will, though, have to give the Conrad Johnson a little bit of edge on that. Now, because I think you can listen to the Conrad Johnson a little longer, and that could be because of the distortion is second order because of the tubes. And therefore, it just seems like you can listen longer. At least that was my take of everything than you can the McIntosh. Wetness, hearing where the recording was recorded, for example, churches and stuff. Well, this would be like the Conrad, not the Conrad, Cowboy Junkie CD, the Trinity session, where they're playing in a church and you can hear the fan running and stuff. They both do that in spades. There's nothing that one does better than the other. So as far as the DACs go, no. There's none better than the other. Dynamics, an abrupt change in the level of music loudness. Okay, both of them have dynamics. I can't say that the Mac is better than the Conrad Johnson. I can't say the Conrad Johnson is better than the Mac. I would say they're both equal contenders when it comes to dynamics. Fat, meaning the bass is bloated and not defined. Definitely no for both of them. They both have very tight, articulated bass, what you're looking for, especially with these 15-inch woofers to the voice of the theaters. Definitely you want tight bass, and I'm going to have to say, nah, both are just as good as the other one. Forward, a lot of horn speakers are forward. Now, as I explained, the Mac is going to be a little more forward. At least when I'm hearing on my horn speakers, it presents things a little more forward. You're not getting that deep sound stage, that instruments are really far back. Everything comes a little more forward. And then I would say, just me, I'm just saying, it makes the horn speakers sound a little more like horn speakers. I was disappointed in that, because I see so many people with horn speakers, like clips and stuff, using McIntosh equipment. And I noticed this with McIntosh equipment back in 1975 when I had it. It was a little more forward. It made your horn speakers sound like horn speakers, where the Conrad Johnson, because it has that depth of sound stage, it doesn't make the horn speakers sound like horn speakers. In some parts, yes, but so does the McIntosh will kind of extenuate that a little more than you want. So that's all I could say about that. Non-forward, is the music more resetted into the sound stage? I kind of probably went over that. With the Mac is going to be a little more forward than what the Conrad Johnson will do. Harsh, unpleasant sound or music sound aggressive. No, none of these two DACs are going to be harsh. At least in my horns, like most horns, I don't have harshness on my horns. When they were older, yes, but because of what I've done, you don't have that harshness anymore. And none of them present to be harsh. They will sound realistic, and it may, you may not like how a saxophone may sound because it's going to be a little louder because of the way the engineer did it. Harshness, no. Now, I'm glad of that too. It's because a long time ago, back in the 80s when they were making DACs and they were making CD players. Oh my gosh, the CDs, and if you had a bad DAC or CD player, and you would get this harshness, and it was like, whoa, and it was bad. CDs then were considered to be bad, but any harshness through all the CDs I played, no, nah, none at all. So forget about anything that's going to be fatiguing to your ears on that. Imaging, sound that is presented in between the speakers. That they both image very good. I'm just going to say the imaging of the Conrad Johnson is going to be a little wider. You're going to be more surprised of the instruments being further back in the sound stage on their imaging compared to what the Mac. And so I would highly suggest, if you're going to think about McIntosh equipment and you got horns, listen. Is it what you like? And I know it's very hard because they only give you like 30 days to listen to a piece of equipment, and it's very hard to make that. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you have horn speakers, you have clips, whatever, JBLs, any of these horn speakers, you really got to listen and spend a lot of time. Is this what you want? Because it does bring the sound more forward. Imaging is great for both of them. Not one is better than the other. In other words, there's no fuzziness or cloudiness to the imaging, because you can literally, on both of them, if someone's playing the piano, pick out where the keys are. If somebody's moving around, you can pick that out. Muddy sound, low in definition. No, definitely none of them. Both Mac and Conrad Johnson, nah, I can't say one does better than the other in that. Palatable. It sounds like the artist is in your room. This is something that I've noticed when I played both of these, A, B, and M, that do you get a realistic sound? You're not going to get all your sound realistic, but are you going to get some instruments? Or maybe if you play it loud enough, is it going to remind you of that time you were at a nightclub? And horn speakers do that. They will present music, especially like these big L-Techs. They present music like you're at a nightclub, because that's what nightclubs are going to use, big speakers to present it. And in Chicago, we have tons of nightclubs. They're all over the place. You know, nightclubs are like flies on shit in Chicago. We got nightclubs all over the place to listen to different people like Patricia Barber and stuff like that. So realistically, I've heard both of them play, and they both play like palatable. They both play like things are realistic. Now, I know that if you hear something that is real, that you may find out it's not quite exactly the same. Okay. But it can trick your ears. Both DA converters can trick your ears, and believing that if you have a saxophone, you can hear the bite, you can hear the timbre of the instrument. Some things are going to trick you, especially electric guitar, for example. That may trick you because electric guitar is easy to play, and I don't want to insult anybody. It's easy to play on a system like this because electric guitar basically uses tube amplifiers, because that's what a lot of people who play electric guitars like to listen to. The Conrad Johnson has a touch over that than the McIntosh. It is for sounding a little more realistic when you play like Tuck and Patty when he plays his guitar. It may have a little more body to you, a little more warmth, something you palatable, something that may suit your palate a little more. And that could be because of the tubes. I don't know. Pace, meaning that you become engaged in the music. Both of them will do the same. So I can't say one's better than the other. No, they both do the same. Tight bass, not muddy or bloated. Thick, very clean, defined pitch, defined bass. Both of them have that in spades. Really, that's something that they both go down deep, low. They will present bass. The speakers go down to about 35, but I believe there's some bass that's even lower, like on the Casper, the Friendly Ghost soundtrack. There is some very low bass, like rumbling even. It's so low. You can get that from both of them. But if you want to play Koto Drummers of Japan, let's say loud, both of them are equal. I can't say one is better than the other. They both have tight bass. You'll enjoy the bass from both of them. Tonality. Do instruments sound like themselves? I would say tonal-wise, the Conrad Johnson has a little over the McIntosh. Tonal-wise, I've just listened to both of them continuously, and it just has a little. Now, I'm not talking about a lot, okay? Don't think this is leaps and bounds. No, we're talking about, we're talking about splitting, fly hairs here on some of these things I'm talking about. Okay, transparency, disappear. Are you hearing just what the music that's transparent means? It is, okay. So both of the DACs with the right system, to me, are both transparent. I don't think your money is going to be wasted on either piece of equipment. The sad part is, to end this review, and this is the sad part, and I don't even like saying this, but I got to just be upfront and tell you how I feel. The sad part is have we, at a price point, outbeaten some of the real classic pieces of equipment that were made, let's say, in the 90s from people who made excellent DACs. You got your Krells, your Wadias, your, Levinston. I can go on and on. Are today's DACs far superior? Well, they could be, but at what price point? I know that if we take a $4,000 DAC from the 90s and a $4,000 DAC today, no, I'm really disappointed in the fact that it doesn't supersede the older DAC and tromp on it. Does that mean some of these DACs that are being reviewed that people love, that cost $14,000, shouldn't sound better? I don't know. I can't tell you. I haven't done an A/B. I can only tell you what I'm hearing with today's DACs, and this is at this point in time. I can't really say that today's DACs and what you're going to spend, because, the Conrad Johnson, you could probably get it at a decent price, a used Conrad Johnson. And anybody who has gotten rid of them kind of feels that they should not have gotten rid of them. The modern DACs today, I can't really say are far, far superior. No, I don't know why people tell hobbyists that. I don't think they are. There may be a price point where you could say, yes, they are, but how much are you willing to spend? How much wherewithals do you have? Do you have that extra money? Is that income available? Or maybe a piece of used equipment would be killed. I also saw that on another video where somebody tried out, it was a McIntosh against a Meridian. I think it was a CD player or it was a DAC against a Meridian. And believe it or not, the guy was disappointed in the Mac and said he was going to get rid of it and keep the Meridian. Even though the Meridian was older, a lot older than the Mac, he just felt for his system that old Meridian really sounded better than the newer Mac. And he said, so I'm going to sell the Mac. Okay. So this is how I feel about the whole thing. And I hope you learn something through the wording of trying to judge what I'm hearing about the equipment that I'm listening to. And all I could say is use your own judgment. Don't listen to other people entirely thinking that you're going to buy a piece of equipment just on their judgment. Because the worst thing is out there that I have found out, and I don't know if you realize this, people trying to give you the truth because they're looking for their next product. So they're not going to give you the truth. A lot of Chinese equipment, I'm seeing people are testing them, and they're not coming up to par of what the reviewers are saying. The reviewers are saying they're great. I'm seeing people, they buy these equipment, they dump them back on the market. They're not what the reviewers are saying. And they realize they just wasted their, let's say, $1,800 on a combination amp preamp, and they wish they hadn't have done it. And a lot of people say, no, the bass is darker, it's not as strong as the reviewer said. That's the problem with YouTube. A lot of these reviewers, they're looking for their next product. And if they don't give a great review, we don't know what to do. And then you may waste your money. So anyhow, this is the Empirical Audiophile. I hope I help with some of the definition and the wording that is used. Today, like I said, they're using new wording that doesn't make any sense to me. But these are your common words that are used when interviewing pieces of equipment, reviewing pieces of equipment, I should say. So until next time, happy listening.